Hi, I'm Charles Brothers from Tamaki Group Limited in New Zealand. I'm the Medical Applications Director for Tamaki Group, looking after or overseeing the compliance and fit-for-purpose use of our product internationally within all jurisdictions. It's my role to ensure that all of our product meets the jurisdictional requirements, and it's obvious that in 2020, COVID-19 and its unprecedented impact within the world has also impacted us in the way that we provide our products. Originally, our PPE would be supplied to industry and medical practitioners, but it's obviously clear that as time has moved forward in 2020, that the public are now using PPE. It's quite important to understand that there is a clear definition between industry, medical practitioners and the public use. And that use stems really from the application of how the PPE is used. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about medical procedure masks, surgical masks with tiebacks, or our surgical masks with visors and ear loops, or our respirators. All of them require a specific instruction for use, and those instructions for use have to be adhered to ensure that you achieve the efficacy of performance for that piece of equipment. It doesn't matter how good your PPE gear is. If you do not don it correctly, you will not be getting the effective use of that PPE gear. And then more importantly, once you have completed the tasks and move out of the danger areas, if you do take that PPE gear off, if you aren't doing that correctly, then you defeat the whole purpose of using the PPE gear. And I'll give you a quick example of that. And we see this all the time at the moment. Well, we do in New Zealand, and I'm sure you'll see it around the world. These dangling from rear vision mirrors of cars, where individuals are using them and then coming back into the car, hanging them up and using them again. That's not an issue per se. The issue is how you put it on and take it off. So when we put a mask on, we put it, fit it correctly, and here's your procedure mask. Brilliant. You use it. You take it off, boom, and it should go into the bin. If you reuse it, this is what normally happens. Someone goes in and grabs it. Immediately, the inside of that mask is contaminated. Wherever that hand has been is now imprinted on that mask. And now you're going to put it against your face. So if you've been in an environment where COVID could be, you could be putting COVID on the inside of your mask. That is not the issue of the mask, that is the issue of the user. These are the small things that we must determine. And the users industrially and within the medical profession understand this. They understand the following of the COVID regulations and requirements. They understand how the CDC and the WHO have determined the use of PPE gear and also how to don and doof that gear. What I'm going to do is go through a number of questions that have been asked from around the world, from some of our distributors and customers, and hopefully answer them so that it gives you a better understanding of how COVID impacts us in reality, outside of all of the technical information, the actual relevant information that you can use on a day-to-day basis, and the understanding of why we do certain things. They aren't just there for, by heaven's sake, they're there for reasons. So let's start. We have a couple of questions from the UK. Joe asks two questions. Why do some masks have valves and others don't? And what are the best masks to buy and why? I'll answer both together, purely because both of them come from the respirator end. So as we've seen before, I can show you a number of different types of masks, whether they be surgical masks with tiebacks or with ear loops, procedure masks. These masks here in particular are designed predominantly to protect the patient or the environment. So you've got to understand where that environment has come from. That is a medical grade product which has patients in mind, whereby a patient comes in normally immune compromised, i.e. they're sick, and that we do not want to burden the immune system anymore by adding to any other illnesses or challenges. So to protect, we then put a mask on to stop any microbes from our cells being exhaled, or droplets to be exhaled into an area where this may impact the patient. So predominantly a medical mask is designed for a patient or the environment. Then we've got to understand that there are certain standards for those masks. In Europe, EN 14683, and in the US, ASTM F2100. They're called different things, level 1, level 2, level 3 in the US, and type 2R or type 1R or type 1 or type 2 in Europe. Very, very similar. However, there is one point of difference, and that point of difference is that in the USA, they test for what we call particulate filtration efficiency, or PFE, above 98% using a 0.1 latex sphere. Why is 0.1 latex sphere quite important? The reason being is that COVID-19 is approximately 0.1 in size. So it's 0.1 microns in size. It travels around in droplets of between 5 and 10 microns given. However, if the droplet then sits on the outside of the mask, it dries out, and then you're inhaling 0.1 of a micron COVID-19 in clusters. The filtration process for that would cut out over 98% of those particulates. So again, quite technical, quite small, something you can't see. So we've got to understand that. Now we move on to respirators and your question about valves in particular. So we have two types of respirators, both of ours here, one without a valve, one with a valve. Respirators are designed not with the patient or environment in mind. They are designed with the user or wearer in mind. They were designed predominantly for industrial use and to protect users when they are doing hazardous work in high-risk environments that are generally quite requiring quite physical use, which is why they have what we call head straps on them. So when you put one on, and I'll put this one on here, this is a FFP3, which is equivalent to an N99, or if you're in Southeast Asia or Australia, it's equivalent to a P3, right? What it does is it filters out over 99.9% of particulate down to 0.3 of a micron. So when you put it on, the respirator sits on the face and will be tested for what we call a face fit test. So we put it on and we go, there's no air that moves around from the outside. So the respirator protects the user from breathing in anything from the environment. But it doesn't protect the environment because it's got a valve. So this valve here, when I'm blowing out, I can feel the air coming through this valve. When I breathe in, that valve closes. It's a one-way valve. So it protects me because everything I breathe in comes through the filtration process, but everything I breathe out doesn't. So if I've got COVID-19, I'm protected from everybody in that room. However, I'm breathing out COVID-19, possibly. Okay, this is opposed to, and as you can see, the reason why we have the head straps, you can do a lot. As a matter of fact, you can try and wiggle it around. Now that hurt. You can try and wiggle it around. It will hold the respirator in place. Now let's move on to a non-valve respirator, again with head straps. Okay, and this is our medical grade non-valve respirator. This is an FFP3, again, 99.9% filtration process above 0.3 microns. As a matter of fact, this one here is tested 2.1 microns and achieves above 99% filtration process for 0.1 microns, and is also a medical grade type 2R mask. So BFE above 99%, and also blood fluid resistance about 120 millimeters of mercury. It has head straps, but it also comes with ear loops. Ear loops are a lot easier to put on faster. I don't have an ear loop version here at the moment, but as you can see, very easy to put on. Boom, boom, you put it on. With a head strap, there's some adjustment However, with a respirator, it is designed for heavy use and quite difficult use. So regardless of whether you have an ear loop or a head strap, it's designed to be used and stop any impact of the environment within your breathing range. So if we put this respirator on, again, same fit. However, you'll see this respirator Yep. So this needs a little bit of adjustment. So again, with respirators, you've got to be careful about respirators. They do fit, but the face fit test, yeah, there you go, has to be performed. And again, you can see, it's quite good to see because I've got chubby cheeks. You can see how it's sealing against my face, meaning that it's not allowing any air to flow in from the outside, only through the filtration process. And it only allows me to breathe out, and everything comes out through the mask. The mask gets warm and it exhales. So you'll get breathing process in and out through this mask area, which protects both yourself and the environment. Unlike the valve, which allows you to breathe raw air out that isn't filtered. I hope that answers your question, Joe. Quite a good question and quite a good differentiation between a respirator and a mask and a non-valve and a valved respirator.